Hello, and thank you for watching this Northeast Regional Forecast. I'm Andrew Pritchard, meteorologist with Nutrien Solutions. Well, right now we're dealing with a pattern that has a big ridge in the west. We're looking at the jet stream here with a trough in the... Hello, and thank you for watching this Northeast Regional Forecast. I'm Andrew Pritchard, meteorologist with Nutrien Solutions. As we wake up on this Tuesday morning, we're diagnosing a jet stream pattern like this, a big trough in the west with a ridge in the east. Very strong jet stream winds racing across the midsection of the country, doing so over the top of a big temperature gradient. I'll draw the jet stream in once more, racing across the midsection of the country, this trough in the west and the ridge in the east. Very strong jet stream winds over the top of this temperature gradient. Now, you've watched Eric Snodgrass for several years and myself for the last year or two. You might know what that pattern leads to. Temperature gradient across the central part of the country, strong jet stream winds racing over the top of it. Lots of precipitation. And that draws moisture northward from the Gulf, leads to the development of storm systems across the central part of the country, and once again, a lot of precipitation across the central U.S. getting into the eastern U.S. It also means a lot of cold. We're looking at a transition now into a much colder pattern over the next 5 days, taking it into early November. With much of the central and western United States, 10 different states, they're breaking the color bar, going 20 degrees cooler than average over the next 5 days, averaged out. That's just some unprecedented cold that will linger as we head into the first week of November, November 3rd through the 7th here, dealing with some of those cooler temperatures moving into the northeast region. Taking a look at the next 5 days of precipitation, not much change as we look back and forth between the two maps here from 5 to 10 days into the future, and that again because the big precipitation story going to be driven by the next couple of storm systems here, Wednesday, Thursday. Really, it takes the appearance of one, but it's a couple different waves that move through here. We look at the next 10 days, the 6 through 10 time frame, not changing a whole lot. We do have the potential for some accumulating snow from the high plains into the Corn Belt. Perhaps some high elevations here well west in the northeast region, talking about northern New York State here, perhaps picking up some light accumulations. But if we see any snow here, probably going to be just snowflakes flying around. Not yet talking about accumulating snow here in any kind of big fashion in the northeast region, but certainly noting this swath here where we could pick up, upwards of 3 inches of heavy wet snow from the high plains across the Great Lakes. Now, the last 24 hours have been quiet across the northeast region here, not talking about any precipitation in the area. Some light rain falling across the central U.S. as this frontal boundary slowly makes its way into the area. The satellite picture really reflects the jet stream flow. Again, the big trough across the west, ridge in the east. You can see the very strong jet stream winds racing across the area. Taking a look at the radar picture, then not a lot showing up, although right here across the eastern Corn Belt where, not much is showing up on the radar, we do have a light mist. It's a very gloomy, kind of depressing day out there, but you look off to the south, we've got some Gulf moisture already streaming northward. You can see that in the form of some showers and storms along the Gulf Coast. And as we head through the day today into tonight, we'll watch for this area to really begin to light up with more widespread rain and perhaps even some snow across parts of the mid-Mississippi Valley here, Iowa, Missouri, and Illinois. So once again, here's this temperature gradient. We are quite warm over here, doing not so bad across the northeast region here, waking up to temperatures in the 40s and 50s early on this Tuesday morning. Meanwhile, parts of the Dakotas waking up in the teens to near zero across the high plains, parts of Montana. As we head through the next few days, again, watching the precipitable water here, drawing a lot of moisture northward into the eastern Corn Belt and eventually the northeast region before the low pressure area here kind of swings through Thursday and Friday, bringing in a drier punch of cooler air. We'll see that here. There's that front pushes through, dries things out as we head into the weekend. And if I take my drawings off here, you see that we kind of stick around in this pattern where now we're getting flow out of the northwest. We're not seeing the deep moisture coming northward, so while we may not shut down completely, precipitation chance is going to be more light in nature, probably talking about light showers, light flurry opportunities. As this colder air mass sticks around, we get reinforcing shots of that cooler air from the north. So a bit of a change where instead of drawing moisture northward from the Gulf with a pattern, that's got the jet stream swinging through like this, we'll kind of flip things around as we head into the weekend and next week. The jet stream coming out of the north here, bringing with it some rounds of cooler and drier air into the eastern half of the country. Now, just looking at the next 60 hours, this is only going to get this to the point where the storm system's finally making its way into the northeast region here. Not going to get the whole thing out of there, but I'll point out the two waves. We take this thing back to Tuesday, heading through the day today, and then into the overnight tonight is when we start to see things become a bit more organized. We'll go ahead and stop here Wednesday morning. This is the first kind of wave moving through here, delivering the first shot of some accumulating snow to Iowa, Illinois, and Missouri, some rain to the eastern Corn Belt. This begins to lift into the northeast region as we get into Wednesday night and then perhaps Thursday morning. Now, by the time we get to Thursday, we've got another area of low pressure beginning to develop here and swing through the eastern Corn Belt across parts of Illinois into the Great Lakes, taking this into Thursday morning now. That is the last wave then that would swing through the northeast region here Thursday and Friday, bringing in that cooler air, finally bringing the cold front through the region. Total accumulated precipitation through that same time frame, so again, not getting the storm system all the way through the northeast region, but taking a look at the big swath of precipitation here, anywhere from the Gulf Coast to the eastern Corn Belt, looking at a swath of 1 to 3 inches of rain, and that does move into the northeast region as we get into Thursday and Friday. We'll go ahead, we'll take a look at the accumulated snow forecast. This takes it through Thursday afternoon again, just noting the swath here across parts of the high plains into the Great Lakes. Not yet talking about any of that in the northeast region, but talking about cold weather making it into the northeast region, especially as we get into the weekend and next week. Not quite as extreme as it is going to be across the western parts of the Corn Belt here into the high plains, but it is going to stick around a while. We do flip to this cooler pattern, and it doesn't look like we shift back to a warmer pattern anytime soon. Taking a longer look then at the precipitation forecast, once again just showing you, we'll get this Wednesday, Thursday system through. Here we go. We're on Thursday at 1 p.m. This is where the high-resolution NAM model cut off. We watch this area of low pressure that's now making its way across the state of Michigan through the Great Lakes, dragging the cold front with it across the northeast region here, now starting to get some of that cooler air wrapping in on the backside. Seeing some of that precipitation switch over to some snow, perhaps across western Pennsylvania into New York. Not talking about accumulating snow, but certainly some snowflakes mixing in as this comes to an end Thursday night into Friday morning. Taking it through the day on Friday into Saturday morning, and the storm system has exited the area. Perhaps a little clipper-like system moving through on the backside, delivering some flurries as we head through the back half of the weekend, but the significant precipitation coming to an end during the day Friday into Friday night. Now, this is a pretty strong storm system. We've got tightly packed isobars here. It's going to be a blustery rain here as we head through the day Thursday and Friday. And then if you're on the backside here getting this cold air blasting in, that is going to be a very cold, raw, rainy day with maybe some snow mixing in with strong winds coming in from the west. So really an unsettled 48 hours as we talk about the Thursday, Friday time frame across the northeast region. The good news being that that is probably the most unsettled 48 hours over the next 10 days or so. Looking at the accumulated precipitation from the GFS then, just taking it through into early next week. We'll get past the weekend into Monday, noting the swath of precipitation from this storm system here, a broken area of 1 to 3 inches of precipitation with potentially widely varying amounts here, but the core of that likely going to pick up upwards of 2 to 3 inches. So it's a moisture-logged storm system that's going to deliver, again, a really unsettled 48 hours. But as I take this into next week, again, noting we may have a couple clippers come out of the Canadian prairie here, delivering some light precipitation as we head all the way into November 8th. Really, much of what we see across the area is what we get over the next couple of days. Now, the European 500 millibar height anomaly chart is really going to illustrate the transition in the pattern here, going from the trough in the west, ridge in the east, pattern like this, which again is warmer in the east, cooler in the west. We'll go ahead and take this into the early part of November, noting that was much too quick to catch any of the details. This first trough swings through, and that's where we get a bit of the change. We get a big ridge over the Pacific. Now we got a trough across the central and eastern U.S., and we kind of hold on to that with an area of low pressure, a big upper level trough kind of sitting over the Hudson Bay with little reinforcing shots of cooler air, potentially some reinforcing shots of some light rain, light flurries making their way through. But really switching to a pattern where we've got a ridge in the west, the trough in the east, keeping reinforcing shots of cooler air over the eastern half of the country, but a drier pattern where we're not getting those dramatic storm systems, the nor'easters, swinging through the area. We'll finish then looking at the high temperatures for the next 5 days across the northeast region, bringing it back to Tuesday, looking at highs in the 50s and 60s to near 70 across the south. Another warm-ish day for the day on Wednesday, 50s and 60s, 70s to the south. Warmer still on Thursday with a warm air advection on the warm side of the storm system with cooler air coming in on the backside. A pleasant Halloween, across the East Coast, much unpleasant across the Corn Belt, where we'll be talking about rain and snow and temperatures in the 30s. So count your blessings on the East Coast. You got a wonderful Halloween before the cold front comes through here Friday and Saturday, dropping your high temperatures into the 40s. Overnight low temperatures then for the next couple of days. We'll take a look at tomorrow morning's low temperatures below freezing along and northwest of this line here, above freezing in the eastern Corn Belt into the northeast across the southeast. Starting to watch that cooler air swing in from the west then as we head into Thursday morning. Here are your Friday morning lows, and then waking up on Saturday morning with most people across the northeast below freezing. As always, Eric Snodgrass will have our long-range U.S. focused forecast on Wednesday morning, and then I will be back with your next Northeast regional forecast on Friday morning. Have a wonderful day.